when you look back, it's funny, but at the time we were all super worried. But Diego Sanchez, we brought Diego in to work with Nick Jonas, and he was one of the fighters on for one of the episodes, and him and Nick were intense in the moment, and then out of nowhere, the director calls cut, and then everyone stops, and Diego's like mid swing and just punches Nick Jonas right in the ear, and his ear instantly swelled up and like had cauliflower ear, and we are like, oh shit. And then at that um, uh, same time, next like scene, they were fighting still, and the director yelled cut again, and Diego went to go throw an inside leg kick and like kicked Nick right in the cup, and Nick's like, oh, and he like falls to the ground. We're like, what happened now? And then he's like, dude, I feel like my cup broke. We're like, no way. And he pulls a cup out and it was split in half, and it was like the sharp end was pointing inwards. So he's like, I think I cut myself, and we were like, oh, oh, it's super cool. Very talented guy. Like picked up things very quick. You know, all those actors, because that's where I learned how to like dive myself completely into my passion. You know, was from those guys. I had a very good um, role models as far as business wise or business mentality or like bringing stuff to the table. You know, making sure your worth is outweighs more than the promotion or whatever it is. So it's something that I kept in the back of my head and it's helped me. So being around those guys was very influential on my career, and still continues to be. They come and support me all the time, and reach out to me after every fight. So very thankful for the relationship and connections that we made through that. Joe Stevenson and I, we were MMA consultants on it. Mainly Joe Stevenson. I started off as an extra, but you know, we were MMA consultants for it, and I was a background, and then it was actually a cool story because I was in the middle of like after my first loss, my dad sat me down. He's like, "Look, at like you need to make a decision. You either need to fight full time or work full time. You can't do both because it's hampering your performances." And I was like, "Man," and I was 5-0, just came off my loss, so I was 5-1, and I was fighting for World Series of Fighting. And then I was talking to Joe Daddy Stevenson about it. I said, "Hey man, my dad wants me to quit fighting or quit working. I don't know what to do." He said, "Hey, well, what if I could support? What if I could get a low paying job and you could train all day?" And I was like, "Dude, that would be perfect." He's like, "Well, this show they want me to be an MMA consultant on. I was going back and forth of taking, but I think I'm going to take it, and you could basically just train all day, and you'll be with me all day, and we could just train and get better." And I was like, "All right, let's do it." So I still kept my job, but I was still like, because I didn't know how much it was going to be paying or the work schedule. And then when I met the writer of the show, he like looked at me and he's like, "Dude, I know you from somewhere." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't think we've ever met." He's like, "No, I know you." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've ever met you." And he was like, "All right." And so he like a week went by and he came back up to me. He's like, and he shows me his phone. He's like, "Is this you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And it was my first fight ever in MMA. I came out of college, so it was a professional fight, and it was a crazy fight because I got dropped in like the first 10 seconds. But then I like woke up on a single leg, and I was like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "This is like a real fight." So he was sitting in the middle of my family, so they were going crazy. And he was like, "This is what it's about. Like, this is the type of show I want to write." So he said he got a lot of inspiration off my first fight, which was really cool. And from there, he made me a character on the show, and so I was working the show, and it was a huge hit, a huge success. From season one, episode one, all the way to I actually got to because Joe Stevenson was on the Ultimate Fighter, the last season we did of Kingdom, and so I got to run a lot of the MMA consultant and like do the fight scenes and stuff. So it was really cool with Matt Hughes and Frank Grillo. Walked them through that whole fight and got to like kind of use my imagination and use some of my fight experience to basically dictate a fight, and it was super cool.